Go down. Get somebody. Go down. Get somebody. Go down.
Welcome to another Doggone podcast. We are here at the CEC studios. I'm your host, Mike the Mad Dog, and joining me is a man, is the only person I know that made Kirby Smart take a knee on the football field. It's Mr. Hap Hines. How are you, sir?
Good, about to say, good to be here, Mike. You're not going to find that's a first right there, but
Yeah.
those were good times. Good times. He was a great holder on place kicks, but great team leader, great coach. Everything.
You know, I noticed there was a photo on the internet. I think I sent it to you. You and Kirby were actually celebrating pretty big. What kick was that?
Oh, when we played back in the day, and like I said, he was our starting free safety, team captain, and all that. He would always kind of calm my mind when he would hold the ball for me. So I almost kid and tell people he also served as my psychiatrist too. So, but no, those are great memories, and the ones you make, you definitely want to celebrate, no doubt about it.
Well, let's talk about what's going to happen this upcoming season. I mean, we start off pretty light with Marshall. And, you know, there's a couple of games, and I think the Austin P after that. But the big test, I think, is that third game, which is really strange that we play Tennessee as early as we do. But that third game that they go up to Knoxville and play in Neyland Stadium, do you think that's going to be a big test for Gunner and the offense?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Marshall's going to be they're a very good opponent to start the season off with, too. But I think the schedule really lines up to give him a chance to really kind of get warm, get acclimated. And, you know, coming out of SEC media days, hopefully Tennessee isn't going to be as strong as what they've been in years past, because going to play in Knoxville is never easy. So I think that's a good chance to kind of get your feet wet and really be ready to go into a real hostile environment and play.
I've said that time and time again. I've been to Knoxville. I've been to that game. When those people get excited, you can feel the earth shake.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's very, very intense.
It's on top of you.
It's like the largest stadium in SEC football, isn't it?
I think it is the largest. I think Michigan is the largest in the country.
In the country, yeah, but SEC.
But in the
Tennessee's
SEC, I believe it's Neyland Stadium.
Yeah, and when I was there, I mean, it was they get excited. The best thing you can do, the only thing you can hope for, is to jump on them quick and just take them out and let them get them heading to the exit for halftime.
Right,
Because if you keep them in the game, you keep that crowd excited, you keep Tennessee even in that game a little bit, it's going to be a long day. And speaking of big, quick starts, this is a problem that I think we had last year that I would really like to clean up this year, especially on the offense, is that it seemed like it took them almost the third quarter before they even got started. And that's one thing I hope Gunner, corrects during this season. I want him to clean this up. I want him to not turn over the ball like Beck did, because we had to get ourselves out of crazy situations last year. And I really want that offensive line to hold so we can have a decent enough run game, because I think Nate Frazier is going to be this could be a big breakout season for him. So what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that Kirby's going to take care of this and Mike Bobo is going to have a faster start?
I do. I kind of look at it with the cup being half full, because Georgia is coming off a SEC championship season where they beat Texas twice, and I think that was probably one of Coach Smart's best jobs that he's done coaching.
I do too.
There were a lot of they didn't. It seemed to me they didn't have the playmakers, or maybe what they have been in years past at the wide receiver position, or you had a lot of drops. I do think Carson Beck struggled and threw a lot of interceptions. But, when you have a coordinator change, that's to come along. But Mike Bobo's been doing this a long time. When he was coaching with Coach Richt, he was putting up a lot of points. So I think, second year into it as coordinator, I think in the players they've got coming in, I think they've got the receiver coming from USC, and they've got a couple other kids that they've got coming in from the portal. I'm expecting big things, but I do think they're going to have the capacity and the ability to start off very fast.
Well, I was told, I had a conversation with you about this too, that Bobo actually sat in Kirby's office and said, I have no weapons. You're going to have to get me somebody to throw to. Because last year, they were like number one in drop passes. I mean, that can't happen this year.
No, no, and I
Not
think
with the people
they're
there.
going to have that cleaned up. I'm pretty sure. But again, I thought, like I said, I look at it as a positive. If people were having a hard time with what happened last year, I'm sitting there going, golly, we beat Texas twice. We were in the college football playoff. Lost to the team that played for the national championship in Notre Dame, won the SEC. That tells me the program is in great shape. But I do think we're going to have some playmakers this year. From the words that I'm getting out of the word I'm getting out of Athens is that there are a lot of some new faces, and they're going to be really, really good dynamic players on offense.
Yeah, I heard they're pretty stacked right now at wide receiver, and you got them out of the portal. I'm just hoping that the chemistry works between them and Gunner. It
Right.
just seems like when it comes to offense, when you're with Kirby, he gives you somewhat of a leash when it comes to that. Like he wants you to run the ball. He basically just meat and potatoes. He wants a quarterback that's just going to not turn it over. He wants you not to make any crazy mistakes. Run the ball, get them in the end zone. And running the ball is important because you control the clock. He needs his defense, which is, what he's all
Right.
about. He needs that defense resting. That's what I've told people time and time again. When you have an outstanding offense and you score quick and everybody loves a big, deep ball and everybody gets all excited and the stands go crazy. But, the defense hasn't even had a chance to even get a sip of Gatorade yet. Like they don't even know what's going on. They're over there taking oxygen going, we have to get right back out there. And when you run the ball, like I've seen this plenty of times, like when they run the ball up the middle and they're able to get like 2 yards, people, why do they keep doing that? And I said, because you need
Well,
you need to
good
balance
running
it.
game sets up your passing game,
Play action.
and vice versa. But uh, coming from the Todd Monken years, they were putting up a lot of good points and had a lot of dynamic players. Stetson Bennett was. I didn't think he was a game manager. I thought he was a playmaker. Brock Bowers and those guys. Obviously, look what they're doing. Look what they're on NFL rosters. Brock Bowers has led, set a record, I think, with the Raiders for yards received in just a rookie year. So I think the offense is going to be just fine. I really do. People need to be patient with a new quarterback, but I think the team is very, very, rallies around him, loves his leadership. Obviously, Coach Smart took him to SEC media days, so I think he thinks very highly of him. And I think it's going to be a great season coming up, especially with all you got Texas and Ole Miss and Alabama coming to Athens this year. It's going to be a great, great season, and the schedule lines up good for them. And hopefully, it is true that Tennessee might be down a little bit since their quarterback is now at UCLA, and the quarterback that was at App State that was at UCLA is now at Tennessee. So hopefully the schedule sets up good. Let's Gunnar Stockton sort of get some experience under his belt, be ready to rock and roll when he goes into Neyland third game.
Well, I know you were talking. I mean, I know, but most people will look at the schedule and see those first two games and think, well, they're just cupcakes and we should just blow right by them. But I thought about what you said. I mean, I'm sure Kirby's saying the same thing.
Oh, Coach Smart, he's going to prepare for every game.
Yeah, you never underestimate anybody.
No one
you
game
play.
is more important than the other, and it's going to be about the process and about every player doing what they're supposed to do on every play, regardless of who the opponent is.
Yeah. A group of Girl Scouts could huddle up out there, and Kirby would be like, "We got to beat them." Like he doesn't take anything for granted, and he says that every time. And that is funny. Always during the press conference, I always hear, "I got a lot of respect for this team, what they do. This player." And that's fine. And I understand that for the players because you don't want to take anybody for granted because, I mean, when he was at Alabama, defensive coordinator, they lost to a team they were supposed to beat. And that's a learning lesson. And another thing that Kirby always does is, pressure's a privilege. We got to eat off the floor. We got to be hungry. Everybody's got to be happy all the time. It's funny to me how everybody seems to be doubting the season. Bobo had a bad season. There was slow start. So now, who's this new guy, Gunner? Is he going to be good enough? Everybody's just doubting. It seems like they're making Kirby's job a lot easier because with all the doubts that are going out there, all he's got to do is say
he's pretty good when probably people are doubting him. he's the most competitive guy I've ever known. I can tell you that much. So I really sleep fine knowing the people that he's got on his staff and knowing his mindset that they're going to be successful.
I think so too. I mean, you talked about when he was in college with you. It was what it was at a frisbee golf game. He was losing his mind over.
Well, it was I think back in when we used to play after spring practice, we would do. It was a little bit more of a downtime of the training year, and they put us into. They took the team and they sort of put us into groups of 7, 8, 10 players, and we played ultimate. It's like it's ultimate frisbee, but with a football. And they made I think Coach Tereshinsky, who was one of the assistant strength coaches at the time, he made a team bracket and everything. And you've got Hines Ward and Robert Edwards and all those guys out there. And I remember Kirby had a team. Me being the kicker, I probably wasn't gonna be on a team that was going to be competing to win that bracket within the team, if you can imagine. But Kirby's team, I think they made it to the championship, and I forgot what it was, but he is out there disputing a call or whatever. Just if you know how competitive he is when it comes to just a ultimate, frisbee football game like that, that tells you how competitive he is.
Oh, I've seen him. I've seen him coach. Down to the wire. I think I was mentioning earlier before we came on. And 2 minutes left to play. He's up by 4 touchdowns and still calling timeouts. Just absolutely giving people a hard time. He coaches down to the last second.
Yeah.
And I noticed something. You brought up strength coaches. Scott Sinclair usually has to pull Kirby back off the field.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see more of that this season. I think he's going to be fired up. He's going to be, in the zone. And sometimes they cut to Kirby this past season, and it seemed like he was a little more calm, a little more toned. I don't know why. And I wanted to see more. I love that about him, and I love Mark Richt more than anything. But the coach before him, I respected him. I respect who he is as a human being. But he was so laid back sometimes when I wanted to see him get more fired up. And with Kirby from day one, when he was on that field, even that first season when they made it to that Liberty Bowl and they wound up having to play that game, he was fired up, animated on the side, jumping up and down. And that's what I wanted to see. That got me fired up. And hearing some of his pregame speeches or whatever, it makes you want to run through a wall and put on a helmet yourself.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I could understand how he can get everybody fired up, and I love that passion about him. You don't see that with a lot of coaches.
That's the Coach Smart I've always known ever since he was a player, a teammate, and now as a coach. So I've heard excerpts of his locker room speeches and all that, and it makes you want to run through a brick wall and go tee it up and get after it. I absolutely love it.
I love everything. I love everything about him, and not just because he's a Georgia coach, but I like I said, with the other coaches like that come off the Nick Saban tree, like Lane Kiffin. Like sometimes Lane Kiffin, I do like him too. Sometimes you can see him get a little passionate. He'll go ahead and throw his arms up knowing it's a touchdown. That's what I like about Lane, because Lane's a more offensive-minded coach, and that's the way I think. And I love Kirby to death, but sometimes it seems like, I want a little more out of Kirby when it comes to offense, and it just seems like he reins them in. But that's during the season. I've noticed at the end of the season, national championship game or bowl game or whatever he's in, he absolutely, he throws everything out. Everything goes. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because he's trying to keep his players healthy. He doesn't want, he reins everybody in. It seems to me that he wants to, bully you on offense and then just strangle you with the defense. That's how he likes to play ball.
Well, he can put up points when you got to. I mean, and I think same thing with Coach Bobo. You've got to be pretty doggone good with what you do when you're able to come from almost a 30-point something deficit like they did last year at Alabama to come back and take the lead. So I think all the pieces are there coaching wise, fire, passion, energy. I think that's what he preaches. And I do think we're going to see some points, and when they got to light up some points, they're going to be able to do that.
Well, the run game should be a little more interesting because Gunner can take off, and we didn't have that with Beck. Beck was more of a pocket passer, and then like with Bennett, we saw Bennett that big 50-yard run he did against Auburn that one game he was at.
Right.
Will we see a lot of that with Gunner, or are they going to try to reel him in because he got smacked pretty hard during that SEC championship game?
He took a shot there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and I know he thought the game was on the line, and it was, and he was trying to score, and I applaud him for that. But at the same time, you don't want to see the middle of the season your quarterback take a shot like that with his eyes rolled back in his head.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll be well coached. When just kind of like those NFL quarterbacks, when you're running with the ball to slide and take a knee and just get what you can right there and not try to run somebody over. I'm sure they're probably going to have coached him up well on that, but kids trying to make a play, and I also think him taking a shot like that also shows kind of the heart and grit that the kid's got in him. So it was definitely a nasty shot, but I think that's also a good sign of things to come. And just probably, like I said, I don't know if he was concussed on it or not, but he was able to play in the Sugar Bowl, which is what we wanted to see.
I heard a story about Gunner that while he was in high school, he took a shot so hard that his nose was bleeding and it wouldn't stop.
Oh, he seems like a tough kid.
Yeah, and it kept insisting that he wanted to go out, and they wouldn't let him go because his nose just kept pouring blood. But that's the kind of determination that he has.
And that to me, aside from however many points you put up or dynamic plays and all that. And it's important, it's exciting and all, but if you've got that, kind of, if that's the cloth you're cut from, I think Georgia's going to be just fine.
I do too.
Offensively, defensively, special teams.
Yeah, we haven't even touched on the defense yet. I mean, I think defensively, they're getting some players. There one transfer, I always mispronounce his name, but that one transfer that came in from Army.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
they were speaking highly of him. And see, Kirby doesn't usually. He's not the kind of person that just hands out compliments.
You got to earn it.
If Kirby tells you this guy gets after the quarterback like nobody I've ever seen, and even though Kirby always says, "I want to make the quarterback uncomfortable." I don't necessarily care about sacks. I actually heard him say that. I don't necessarily care about sacks. I want to make him uncomfortable, make him make a mistake, make him run.
If you can get pressure, then if the quarterback's going to have pressure on him, it's going to be a lot harder for him to be able to deliver that ball, with ease, and it's going to disrupt, his pass and all that. So I know when it comes to the SEC, they are big on those defensive linemen that can get quarterback pressures. I mean, a quarterback pressure is a very important stat.
I agree.
Whether they sack him or not.
Yeah, and I agree. I just want to, you get fired up when you see him sack the quarterback.
Oh,
though.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole crowd gets here, especially if you go blow through that offensive line the way they do.
Right.
I mean, I would like to see somebody come around the edge and put more pressure on there. Like they came alive. They surprised me in that Texas game last year. They were doing those corner.
That first game?
The first one.
Oh gosh,
they were doing those corner blitzes.
And
Ewers didn't know.
Manning,
They didn't know what hit them.
I saw I think a still shot of them, and they looked like they'd seen a ghost. Defense was playing out of their mind. That was a great.
Oh, it was a great game. I wish we hadn't turned the ball over that one time, but absolutely great. And everybody was like, because everybody was so high on Texas. Texas came in, it was their first year, and the Texas fans were talking about, we're going to take over the SEC. Well, they tried it, during the SEC champion, and it's hard. I know it's hard to beat a team twice.
It's hard to beat a good team twice, and
Georgia did, and that just goes to show you, like you said, the kind of job that Kirby did as far as coaching, because it is almost impossible to beat a team twice in the same season.
I guess I'd be lying if I haven't heard. Maybe a couple people say, "Oh, well, Coach Smart has elevated the program to the point where it's either a national championship or bust."
Yeah.
And let me tell you that right there tells you how great the Georgia football program is set up right now and how wonderful it's being run. To have it to where it's either win it all or maybe it wasn't the year we want. I'm a little bit more, like you said, practical. Where I'm sitting there going, for Pete's sakes, we just won the SEC championship. We just beat Texas twice in the same year. We played a great Notre Dame team that played for the national championship. we may not have had the firepower that on offense that some people may like, but I think the coaching is there. I think Coach Bobo knows what he's doing. I think they've got some playmakers on offense this year, and I think the defense is going to be able to rock and roll. Another thing is with the transfer portal and NIL, there's a lot more parity across the board than what it once was, which in some cases makes it really exciting. I do think probably just for the game itself, and I'm a SEC homer on a lot of fronts. If Georgia's not going to win the SEC championship, then you normally like to see an SEC team in there. Though my attitude towards that's changed a little bit with Alabama through the years, and I say that tongue in cheek, but I think the last couple seasons, a Big Ten teams won the national championship. That probably is healthy for college football in general, but it also shows that there's a lot more parity across the board, which is probably good for the game. Now, it's the wild, wild west in terms of there are a lot of teams out there that you can go get whatever player you want as long as you pay them more, and I'm all for the players being paid. But it from someone who I don't know what all the intricacies are, what all's involved, but it does seem like maybe a few set rules would be good to have.
I think it just seems like they're one ticked off day away from just saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like. You promised me this and it didn't happen. They don't want to take accountability of the fact that maybe they're not practicing hard enough, and maybe that's why they're not seeing the field. And I think like you said,
coaches are going to play the best players.
That's right.
And if a player's getting paid X number of dollars and maybe they're not producing. It's just kind of like the NFL. Look you look at the Atlanta Falcons and their quarterback situation right there. That's what's going to happen. And then players now can go in the portal and they can go find maybe a better situation, whether it was a situation that pays more money or a situation where they can get more playing time. And we've seen, it's hard for me to say one way or the other because look at someone like Joe Burrow. Now, this was before NIL, but he was a backup at Ohio State. He transfers to LSU, wins a national championship and the Heisman Trophy, and is the first quarterback taken. You can't just say, well, that was a good. You've got to make it for everybody. But again, it is hard to manage a roster this day and age. Seems very, 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 very hard to do.
It's almost like you've got to recruit the players that are already on your team as well as trying to get new players to come in. Because you try to say to them, no, stick around. Everything will be all right. Because you know as well as I do, if a freshman comes in and he outdoes that senior, Kirby's going to put the best player on the field.
Oh, no doubt. I think most coaches in the SEC are going to do that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But I do think, I can't fault a player if they're going to go get life-changing money for their family to go to whatever team that is. However, I do think at Georgia, one of the great things that they sell there is player development. And that's a lot of, I think they get a lot of players, might not be because they got paid the most, but because they truly believe if they buy into his process, they are going to develop and they're going to have a better chance to possibly either be a higher draft round pick or, something in that regard. So I do think, Coach Smart probably, I think he's probably the best in the business when it comes to player development and getting that buy-in right there.
I think they should have, instead of, because used to, you'd get a verbal and everybody get excited. And then they'd say, no, wait till they sign because people can flip them. Now they get a sign and you're like, well, that doesn't matter.
Well, signing day's not what
signing day's not
what
what it was,
because very likely half your signing class could be at another school in just 2 or 3 years.
That's what I'm saying. I think that they should at least have at least a 2-year commitment to whatever. Because nowadays it just seems like when you sign, it's not what it used to be. Because at any given time they can just go,
Right.
it's not what I thought it was. Sorry, thanks for playing.
Right.
I got to go, and they'll go somewhere else, and you can't stop them because of the portal. The portal is making it where teams that wouldn't even come close to the playoffs, let alone national championship, are actually in the hunt. You'll see teams in the playoffs, and you're like, how'd they get there?
Mhm.
What are they doing? And of course, you think, well, they won't make it, but the fact that they're even in it, it means something because that program never even came close.
Oh, you've seen a lot of programs now that a program I keep hearing about that might have a very good roster this year, and I'm sure NIL's got a lot to do with it. Texas Tech.
Yes.
If you're able to pay, if you're able to pay a lot for a lot of millions of dollars for a roster, there's a very good chance you're going to get a pretty good team there. SMU, their first year in a Power 5 conference, makes it to the college football playoff, and they probably wrote the book on how to pay players from back in the day. So
Arizona State was in there.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's good for college football in terms of having, more teams spread across like that.
Yeah, there was a lot of teams that always felt excluded. They were always like, we did this. How come we're not in it? We would have done it if we could have done this. But now it seems to me all those excuses are gone. There's a playoff system in here. We have 12 teams right now. Could expand. We're not sure. You got 12 teams in there now. If you can't make that 12, I mean, there's always going to be that 13th team is going to be griping. We should have made it. It's always going to be something like that. But you've got a 12
teams. You're going to probably get the best 2 teams in the country. Playing
and
each other.
And it's like that one time. I don't know what happened with Ohio State last year, but as soon as they lost to Michigan, which blew my mind, we could talk about that for another hour. But when they got in those playoffs and they beat Tennessee, it's just to me like sometimes you just know, like something just clicks. And as soon as that happened, I told a buddy of mine, I said, nobody's beating them. They're gonna run. I don't know what it is about now.
They played Tennessee in that
Nobody's
first round.
beating them. I don't care who it is. They're in a zone.
They look really
They've got
good.
it right. Yeah, and Ryan Day needed to get out of his own way, and it looks like he did. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do it again because he had a lot of coach turnover. He had lost his offensive coordinator. A lot of them just left. So I think that there's certain times like you brought up Joe Burrow, that 2019 LSU team. I said that in the middle of the season. They seem to have gotten better every game that they did. They got a little bit better. Everything kept clicking. And I told somebody, I said, listen, I know I'm a Georgia fan. I'm not trying to be an SEC homer, but I don't think anybody's beating LSU this year. Period. There's just there's every season something's different. And that team had lightning in a bottle that season. I said, nobody is beating them this year.
They had that the coach, I think he ended up going to the offensive coordinator for the.
He's with the What are he with the Panthers now?
He went with the Panthers the next year, but I know he did a heck of a job with that passing game. But I think they had Joe Burrow and the receiver. They're now teammates for the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're hooking it up in the NFL. But that's one of the best college football teams I've ever seen in my life.
And offensively, yes, and then defensively, the 2021 Georgia team.
Yeah,
I don't. I've seen people who said they went to a place where there was like film that Kirby was showing, and Kirby would be like, "Hey, this was supposed to be a loss for yards. I don't know how he got over to him as quick as he can." Because even Kirby said there's certain things you can't coach with certain players. You just have that player. To me, a lot of it's with certain players, like speed and everything. Like I always said this to a buddy of mine. I said, you know what? You can't tell a player to run faster because he's running as fast as he can. You can't coach him to run faster. You can try to get him in shape, but that speed is just going to be there whether you coach it or not. Mm-hmm. And Kirby was like, look, I don't know how he got from sideline to sideline, but he tackled that guy, and he said, you can't coach that. That guy's just that fast.
Well, like I said, Coach Smart. He and his staff, they know how to identify talent, and they can sure as heck also develop it. But you're right. There's some players that just have that God-given ability. but he gets them in their program, and they get that development and discipline and work ethic that probably is just going to continue to get better and better and better, and it just makes them a force to reckon with.
Well, wrapping up, what do you think the record's going to be for Georgia this year?
I've got Georgia. I think they're going to make the playoffs with no problem. I've got them in the SEC championship game. I've got them beating Alabama at home. Obviously, if you've got, I mean, the schedule's the same except it's just flipped from where, and they play in Marshall instead of Clemson. But you know, for the most part, it's the same SEC schedule. You know, it's hard to get through the entire season unscathed, but I'd probably say I've got them win the SEC championship, probably going 11-1 in the regular season. Who that loss is going to be to, good question. There are some trap games that you really got to, you know, be prepared for. That maybe whether it's going to Knoxville or going to Auburn at night. I don't know what it's going to be, or you know, just the fact you get the wear and tear of a season. Ole Miss, Texas, and Ole Miss, Texas, and Alabama, just part of your SEC slate. There'll be a trip up there somewhere, possibly, but I've got them going 11-1 the regular season, win the SEC championship, getting in the college football playoff, and then I think if that's the case, it's going to be anyone's race. I mean, it does take probably the right setup, the right matchups to continue to, you know, go through the playoff system to make it to the championship game. But that, to me, as long as you're doing that, you're going to give yourself a great chance, and that's what Georgia's got. This program's to a point where it's national championship or bust. But I feel very good. I'm not worried about anything offensively, defensively, obviously, player development, anything that they do over there. I'm really excited about the season.
Well, I agree with the 11-1, and I appreciate your take on this. And more importantly, I appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no. It's been a pleasure. I could talk football with you all day, but we're going to have to wrap this up. And that is another Doggone podcast. We are here at the CEC studios, and doggone it, I'm out.